Hey, how you guys doing? It's your boy Beasley back at it again with another episode in the Potential Prodigy series. This is a series, if you're new, I appreciate you, but this is the series where more or less I give you the general rundown on what stats to look for in prospects, typically the more generational ones, the elite dev ones, and the star dev ones. That way you guys can avoid the slop that is the normal dev and impact dev, whether you're in offline or online dynasties. These tips, these tricks, these stats, these metrics are pretty universal. I've always enjoyed reading all the positive comments of everyone, whether you're in my streams or my comments saying, hey, Beasley, you helped us out a ton. I appreciate it. You've changed my dynasty. And those mean the absolute most to me. So I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. The entire series is on my channel. So if you have any questions in this video on how'd you get so many coach points, what's your coach build, yada, 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 that series will also be linked in the description, called my How to Dynasty series. There I cover my build, the playbooks I use, the players I go after, how to upgrade players, what stats to look for, all that sort of jazz. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, but just know more than likely your answer is going to be found in one of those two said series. So I got to give another huge and special shout out to all 5,714 of you absolute savages who watched my last video. I absolutely appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, and an extra big shout out to all 582 of you guys who liked my last video. If you guys didn't watch part one, again, it'll be in the description and a whole little series for running backs were so big I had to separate them into two different categories. But I basically challenged you guys saying if you can hit 300 likes on that video, I will stop doing everything I was doing and I will upload and go and get data for this video. I do apologize. This video is unfortunately taking about 6 to 7 days to make, but just know that time was not spent willy-nilly. I have been sitting here staring at this atrociously bright Clemson orange, hearing the drums just ring in my tinnitus-filled ears, and just running down the same data points over and over and over. In total, I think I spent 5 to 10 hours on each archetype. So it was just an immense amount of work. And even for this video, you're going to have new data points that was not previously in other episodes. So be sure to smash a like on this video. And if you want this video to, or the next video, I should say, to be expedited as quickly as possible, your new like goal, your new challenge is 500 likes. If you guys get 500 likes on this video, I will again stop doing everything I'm doing and just sit here and record data for you guys. So that is the challenge. If you guys can meet it, there you go. Also in the comments of this video, I will have a pinned comment. In that pinned comment, I will have the different position groups. You guys will vote with that pinned comment. Whatever is the most liked defensive group in that pinned comment will be the next episode. So as an easy example, I will have linebackers inside and outside. I will have safeties, strong and free. I will have defensive linemen, interior and exterior. If the interior D linemen get the most votes, they will have their next episode for them, and we'll go back and forth. So if you want to directly vote for what group you want next, be sure to like the comment of your preferred voting option in the comments of this video. But yeah, huge special shout out to all you guys from the bottom of my heart. Whether you're joining the Discord, I think we're like 400 strong in the Discord now. We have a ever-growing Discord fam. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys, along with the people who show up to the streams. Yes, I stream every single day at around 6 o'clock CST, whether I'm doing rebuilds, doing wacky and challenges, or what have you. I stream, we yap about football, sports, politics, food. We pretty much just yap. It's a fun time, chill time. So yeah, if you ever want to see little beastly backstory stuff, stop by the stream. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, and let's get back to the video. So we are going to be covering in this video the 4 remaining archetypes, that being the north-south blockers, the elusive bruisers, these north-south receivers, and the athletes. Quick at the beginning of this video, I know I've given you guys a lot of a homework assignment, I do apologize, but a little comment question of the day, nice and bright and early. Down below, let me know, little bold prediction here, of all the archetypes in this game, what do you think is the best, and what do you think is the worst? And be sure, whenever you include that comment, let me know why you think they're the best and why you think they're the worst, because I'm going to be very intrigued to see what answers you guys give, because I was genuinely shocked to find what the actual best archetype was. It really did blow me away, and it's not, YouTube clickbait. I'll show you why later on in the video. But yeah, let me know down below, what is the best and worst archetype, and why do you think they are the best and worst running back archetype in the game? Lastly, this video is going to probably be an hour and a half to 2 hours long. This video will be timestamped in the description. Shout out to you guys. I did not know there was that many people who wanted to have timestamps. I do apologize. That's never been a thing anyone's ever requested for any of my videos, so I really have never done those. But this point forward, I'm going to be timestamping all of my videos. That way, if there's a specific archetype you want for a specific player, you can go find that. Obviously, give me some time. I will retroactively go back and timestamp the older videos as well. But just so you know, this video will be timestamped. So after all that yapping, the intro and yada, 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 let's get to the actual video. So the first people we're going to cover in this video are the north-south blockers. Why am I covering them first? Because really simple, they suck. In my opinion, they are the objectively worst archetype in the game. I will show you why, both objectively and subjectively, why they are the worst, whether it's with numerical values or just my general opinion. But of all these running backs, they are the worst. Now, even though they are objectively and subjectively the worst archetype in the game, that does not mean you can't have an insane running back. I will show you 2 examples of me having an insane north-south blocker, but just know later in the video when I show you those examples, those were 2 generational north-south blockers. If you have a normal dev or impact dev north-south blocker, you're better off just basically not even keeping them at running back. You'll move them to a different position. We'll cover that later in the video as well, but just so you know, these guys aren't really meant to play running back. They're meant to play a different position, which is kind of annoying, but it's how the game works. I don't make the game. I simply play it. But Beastly, why are they so bad? Well, we're going to cover their initial stats first, and then we'll cover the deep dive stats on the scouting reports, or the things you don't get, I should say, in the scouting report in the depth chart. So of all these running backs, if you would like the specific data, which I probably should have included this in the yapping session, but if you want the specific numbers, join the Discord. I have a special section in the Discord called the Scouting Cheat Sheet. There you will have all the hard data. It costs $0.00 to join the Discord. Just join the Discord and you will have the specific numbers. I'm going to keep them semi-vague for the video because most of these numbers kind of overlap. So it'd just be an hour and a half long video of you hearing me say blank to blank. So awareness, they have the highest on average awareness out of all the running backs, which is deliberate by EA to fluff their overall because they freaking suck. They have mid to low 80s as the average awareness. For speed, they have low to mid 80s as their average speed. For acceleration, they do vary between mid to high 80s for that as well. For carrying, it is mid 80s. For break tackle, it's low to mid 80s. For COD, it's mid to high 70s. For juke move, it's low 60s to mid 60s. For spin move, it's low 60s also to mid 60s. For ball carrier vision, it is low 70 or high 70s, to low 80s. And then for catching, it is low 50s to high 50s. That is the general average. That data was compiled with me basically looking at everybody. That was done with looking at generational prospects on the high end. That was done with looking at bust and normal dev on the low end. So generally speaking with them, as you heard me say, their speed stat, very quickly we'll cover this one, is low to mid 80s, right? The fastest one I have ever found was 86 speed. I am not trolling you. The fastest one I've ever found in the 25 or 30 seasons I did looking for them was 86 speed. They are atrocious. On average, more than likely, what you're going to see is stuff like this. Even though they do have the potential to hit 85, 86 speed, more than likely, whether they're impact dev, whether they're elite dev, whether they're star dev, by and large, most of your halfback north-south blockers are going to be 80, 81, 82, or 83 speed on average. The reason why this sucks is because you have to invest a ungodly amount of tokens into them just to get them to the base speed that most contact seekers have, or most backfield threats have, or what any east-west playmaker has. It's crazy how far back they start with speed. And I would like to say they compensate, but they really don't. They're just, on average, slow. As you can see, I have a few examples here, and keyword here being few. Run down momentarily why I mean that. But there's a normal dev, guys. You can see 81 speed, below average, below the average number. You're looking for, again, high 80s, 85, 86, 83. Below average speed, that sucks. 74 awareness is literally the worst awareness I saw while doing this. Right, for the awareness that you're looking for 80, 81, 79, 80, high 80s or high 70s / low 80s. This guy is 74. So right out the gate, dude has below average awareness, below average speed, acceleration, also the worst acceleration at 85 I found. Just bad, bad, bad. Carrying and break tackle was fine. Change of direction was also below average. Juke move below average. Spin move, I'm pretty sure spin move might have been exactly on par with average. Let me check my paper real quick. Yeah, spin move, actually pretty good. The highest spin move I ever found was 66, and this guy is 64. So spin move checks. He might fail everything else, but at least he can kind of spin. Kind of. Decent ball carrier vision at 80 and good catching at 55. But as for the contact seekers, there's always more, right? You have to go to the depth chart and look at their depth chart stats because there's a lot EA's not telling you with these guys that does not appear on the scouting report. And I guess this is the better time than any to go over why. Basically, why do you have to cover the depth chart stats? Because these guys are north-south blockers. They're a hybrid archetype. They're a basically off-spawn of two parent archetypes being north-south, meaning contact seeker, and blocker, meaning blocker. Right? I know, very revolutionary, I know. Crazy concept. But because they're using contact seekers as one of the base archetypes, they are also very slow. And then as you obviously know, most offensive linemen are also very slow. So you have two very slow archetypes, which then breed this super slow archetype where I can legitimately, my grandmother could probably outrun these guys in the football field. I'm not even trolling. I've seen one-legged pirates outrun these guys in a 40-yard dash. That's how slow they are. And I would like to tell you it's just the normal dev ones. But as you can see, this guy, 83 speed, is also hilariously slow. And the elite guy I found in this group is also hilariously slow at 83 speed. So very rarely will you ever find someone like Earl Radagon. Absolute W name, by the way. Shout out all my Elden Ring players. His name's Radagon. I know it's probably not pronounced Radagon, but I'm going to call it that anyways. That's hilarious. But yeah, very, 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 very rarely will you ever find someone like Earl over here with 85 or 86 speed. That is extremely rare. Extremely rare, but even if they do have the speed criteria, if they fail everything else, that's going to be the reason why they're not elite dev, generational dev, or star dev. This guy's impact dev, shocker, because their stats you can't see that he sucks at. Those stats being primarily strength, trucking, and stiff arm. Unfortunately, you can't see that, but again, I can't control that. But Beastly, you can't have a 4-person sample size. That's not a large enough sample size, as I hear you aggressively talking in my comments. You are absolutely correct. That is not enough prospects to have an actual sample size. I 1000% agree with you. But this is the other problem with them, aside from them just being statistically, on average, the worst running back in the game, just off base stats. As you can see, I'm not lying. I'm not trolling. This is not clickbait. I don't lie or manipulate my audience or my videos. I show you the hard facts. I don't feel that need to do any of that bullshit. There only was 4 of them in this class. Again, I am not trolling you. The data to get for these guys was hilariously awful to get. If you were wondering, basically, how could you spend 5 to 10 hours doing all these archetypes? Not every archetype is not the East-West Playmaker, right? The East-West Playmaker was the easiest one to get data points for because there are literally 25 of them every single class. Whereas these dudes, I'm not exaggerating, spawned in the low single digits a vast majority of the time. I guess this is the better time than any to include my brand new stat for this video, the average class size spawn rate. This was done where I went into 10 years back-to-back-to-back saves, 10 consecutive years, and I jotted down the total spawns. Keyword is the total spawns, not the players I had access to recruit. This data also includes the players who I couldn't get from deal breakers. The average class size for these guys was 5, 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 3, 6, 2. That's right, I'm not joking. Most of the classes spawned 3 or less of them. Now, luckily, there was no class that had 0. But you know, the fact that you're, nitpicking here with which is bigger, 2 or 3 is hilarious. When there's like 25 East-West Playmakers, when there's like 15 Elusive Bruisers, and there's a couple of these guys. So on top of the fact it was just annoying to record the data for them, they just didn't spawn. So mind you, this is going to be semi-skewed, but I didn't have the time or the energy to sit here for another 5 to 10 hours and document like 1 or 2 of them. A vast majority of the ones I did document were dev traded. I will give them that because I would assume how EA works with their spawn rates is that they have a desired number of dev traits per group. And since these cats do typically on average have ridiculously small spawn rates, if they're supposed to have 1 elite dev per category and there's only 4 of them, you basically have a 1 in 4 chance of finding the elite dev. Or if there's supposed to be a star dev in the group, you have a 1 in 4 chance of finding the star dev. Now for this group, it was normal dev, impact, impact, and star, or elite, excuse me. So 3 of the 4 of them did have a dev trait. So depending on how desperate you are for running backs, that could be a good thing. But as I'll mention a bit later on in this video, if you don't have a generational one, or an elite dev one, or a star dev one, they are going to suck. They are going to blow. Now we get to the fun parts. We get to the nitty gritty. We get to the actual in-depth stats, which by the way, there was a gentleman who just left a comment at the time of me recording this video on 11/20/2025 at around 2 p.m. There was a gentleman that left a comment saying, actually, basically, you're wrong. You can look at all stats on the view roster thing for players, which I'm just going to go ahead and show you. I'm going to click the view roster button right here. We will do this live in the video. No cuts, no edits, no nothing. I will hover over to this guy. And this comment was made specifically for the backfield threats, me not being able to see their deep route running. And as you can see, I also can't see the deep route running for these guys. Now, mind you, should they be running a deep route? God, no, they can't catch, and they also can't run routes. Obviously not. But that's not the problem here. The problem isn't should or shouldn't they be doing something. The problem is, EA, why aren't you giving me their stats? Like, specifically for north-south blockers, it doesn't matter. But for a backfield threat who you will put on a Texas route, you will put on a wheel route, I know this is going to be a weird thing to like understand, but believe it or not, how EA codes the game for what is a short route versus a medium route versus a deep route is not what you think it is. A short route is anything classified as under 10 yards. 0 to 10 yards is your short route running. It's your short accuracy. It's your short stuff. From 10 to 20 yards, that is medium route running / medium accuracy. And then deep is anything 20 or higher. So technically it'd be 21 because 20 would be medium. So it'd be technically 21 or higher. Which I know that sounds weird, but believe it or not, there are so many playbooks. There are so many formations. There are a lot of ways in this game to get your running back to run 21 or more yards down the field. A great one being the Texas route. You can throw a Texas route if you get enough time to make it develop 30, 40 yards down the field. So I understand it's a oddly specific thing, but I can assure you deep route running does matter on certain routes for certain, stuff in some playbooks. So, and that's assuming you're running a Texas route, right? You're running a wheel route, it matters there. Obviously, if you're running a streak, it matters there. If you have anything like 5 wide, right? Some 5 wides don't have 5 receivers. They'll do 2 running backs, 3 receivers. They'll do 1 tight end, 4 receivers. There's different sets for 5 wide, but trust me, you do need your receiver or your running back, if you want to throw to them to have some route running. Obviously, you don't need 90 plus. That would be overkill, but I can assure you, you do need the deep routing. So that just debunks that real quick. But now let's cover the stats that EA doesn't give you during the scouting report, and these stats do actually matter. So for starters, we're going to cover strength. Strength is very crazy. I have noticed, on average, the stronger the running back is that's a north-south blocker, the more likely they are to be generational or elite dev or star dev. I've noticed strength is just like juke move for an east-west playmaker, where strength matters a ton, which, given their archetype, that just makes sense. But the range here is low to mid-80s. Like the highest one I found was 85 strength, which is wild because there are some 5-star pass rushers who don't have 85 strength. Right? There are some 5-star offensive linemen who don't have 85 strength, and these cats get them off rip, which is insane. Obviously on the high end, on the low end it's like 80, 81. So obviously that's whatever. But for the high end, having that much strength is kind of bonkers to me. The other thing that they do very, very, very well is trucking and stiff arm. On average, the trucking varies anywhere from low 80s all the way to almost 90. Right? The exact data points I found, the lowest truck rating I ever found for these guys was 81 trucks, so barely 80. As you could probably guess, that was a normal dev guy or a bust. But then I also found some dude with 88 trucking. Like, that is just so high. Like, he's basically at the trucking cap with 1 upgrade. The trucking cap, if you're curious, is 90. So he's 1 power upgrade away from capping out trucking, which is just nuts. And of course, just like strength, I have noticed on average, the better the trucking there is, the better or the more likely they are to have a good dev trait. Obviously, this guy has 83 trucking and he's elite dev, but I, again, have seen some high 80s in there and they were really good dev players. So just as an example, stiff arm, same identical thing. Stiff arm also ranges from the low 80s, being exactly 80 as the lowest I found, all the way up to 85. So there's a 5 gap wiggle room here with stiff arm. So again, if they have really high stiff arm and really high trucking, that's probably why they're either a generational talent, a elite dev talent, or a star dev talent. It's just unfortunate that you don't get these stats, these metrics on the back of the scouting report, which stinks because they kind of get screwed over like contact seekers did. But you think it's done. Beastly covered all the things. No, because as you guys can see in the name, blocker is in the name, which means you should go look at their blocking stats, which again is also why they're very, very, very difficult to properly scout. So I'm going to cover these very quickly. That way we don't have I mean, this video is going to be very long anyways, but as quickly as I can. So their pass blocking varies from being mid 60s all the way to the low 70s. Their pass block power is mid 60s also to low 70s. Actually, just realized after looking at my notes, pass block power, pass block finesse, and pass block varies from all being mid 60s to mid 70s, which is a 10-point swing, which is crazy. Their run blocking also has kind of the general same archetype, being mid to low 50s, mid to low 40s, all the way to mid to high 50s / low 60s. They have a wide range for pass blocking and run blocking because unfortunately they're blockers, which stinks. So you could theoretically, and as you can tell with the guy I'm showing you on screen, his stiff arming wasn't crazy. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't crazy. His trucking wasn't bad, but it wasn't crazy either. His strength was really high, which is really cool. But as you can see, his pass blocking is insane. His outlier generational stat is the pass blocking. As you can see, 73 pass block and 70 pass block, pass block finesse. Insane. So just like with contact seekers, you can't really tell if they're generational off the scouting report because you don't get to see their stats. With these dudes, you really don't get to see their stats because it could be, I'm not even exaggerating. I'm looking at my piece of paper here. There are 21 key stats you have to note for these guys. So if you have any of these stats that you don't get to see off the scouting report, which are only like, 8 stats? So 8 of the 21 stats you can actually see. If you get them as the outlier stat, again, like pass blocking as an example, you're cooked, right? You don't get to see these stats, which again, EA, give me stats, please. Give me the stats. So yeah, I don't recommend these guys in general. I don't, because they're on average the worst statistically. But I also don't recommend them because scouting them is ridiculously hard. So they're hard to scout. They don't spawn very much, and their stats aren't the best. They're just overall this giant cluster of just awful, awful, awful. And lastly, because we didn't cover the impact block and the lead block, I might as well yap about that. So the lead blocking varies from being low to mid 40s all the way to low to mid 50s. Again, a 10-point swing there. And then impact blocking varies from mid 40s all the way to the mid 50s. Beastly, why do they have such high impact block and lead block? Well, they're not meant to play running back. I know if you've probably been screaming at your TV for the last 25 minutes, you've been like, yeah, they're not meant to play running back. They're meant to play fullback. And I'm going to show you very quickly what I mean. Again, no edits, no cuts. I don't do any of the nonsensical things other people do. I don't have to lie to my viewers to prove my point. As you can see, I've done nothing. All I did was change him to halfback or fullback, excuse me. That is all I did. Now we're going to go into our fullback, and actually, LOL, he has to be on the team as a fullback. So we're going to sim. Again, we will do no edits, no cuts, no silly business, right? I will sim straight to the regular season, and we are going to see what, after I can, interact with him, what his stats are. Beastly, he's a 71 fullback. He was not even that good of an actual running back. He was a mid-70s running back, and you made him even worse being a fullback. I hear you angrily typing in the comments. Here's the reason why these guys are so fugly, is that they're not that great at doing any specific thing besides blocking, and you really don't need blockers in this game, right? Depending on what offense you run, you may or may not ever even use a fullback, and as you can see, this dude has no skill caps whatsoever. That's because running backs and fullbacks are in the same family tree. If you guys don't know how this works in this game, basically TLDR, if you move someone out of their native family tree, they get a significant cap penalty. So you can move a left tackle to right tackle. You can move a center to left tackle. You can move a right tackle to left guard. Any of the offensive linemen can be intermittently changed out. However, you can't move a left tackle to receiver. The game won't allow you to, it'll allow you to do it, but their stats are going to be disgustingly capped, and you're going to basically not develop them at all. That's the reason why a lot of people in my streams or in my comments have been saying, basically, for fullbacks, I just go and get 5-star and 4-star blocking tight ends and move them to fullback. And yeah, you technically can do that, right? Obviously you can. But here's the thing. Tight ends are not in the native family as fullbacks. So when you move your blocking tight end to fullback, he's going to be aggressively skill capped. Aggressively skill capped. These dudes, and again, my guy is elite / generational. He's very good. So expect for an impact dev or a star dev guy to have more skill caps than mine. But as you guys can see, upgrading his blocking is literally 2 points. He has a low 70s pass block already. If I were to hypothetically max this out, which you'll see later in the video, he's going to hit low 90s pass blocking. He'll actually have better pass blocking than some of my offensive linemen, which is pretty funny. And then the run blocking and lead block, as you can see right there, they're also really cheap. If I were to max this out, they're going to probably finish with high 70s or low 80s for running / lead blocking, which again, compared to most tight ends, even if they're good blocking tight ends, they're not going to hit those numbers. Or if they do hit the run blocking, they're going to be missing the lead blocking and the impact blocking. And those two stats do matter. Brief, also, little description on how these things work. Basically, the order of operations you want for a blocker, specifically a fullback, is lead block into impact block into run block. I'm going to repeat that. It is lead block into impact block into run blocking. That is the order of operations for stats. Now, if you don't have let's say that's for a halfback toss as an example. For a halfback dive or halfback toss out of I formation or ISO, there you go. But if you're doing like stretch, like I do, where you don't have a lead blocker, the only two stats that matter there are impact blocking and run blocking, because there's no lead blocker. See what I'm saying? And impact blocking is only the initial hit. So basically how it works is you'll call toss, have a lead blocker, go look for contact, which would be the lead blocking stat. And then when that person finds contact, they will hit, which will then cause the impact blocking to trigger. And then after the initial hit is done, then whether or not he or she, can't assume genders in the big 2025, maybe my fullback wants to identify as a toaster, wants to block, then that's when run blocking kicks in. So realistically speaking, if you do have them at fullback, which in this case we are, you want to have as high of lead blocking and impact blocking as you can. And for these guys, because they easily upgrade the pass block, the run block, and the lead block, that's going to be very high. Now, their impact blocking is going to suck. That's not going to be very good. But to be fair, the impact blocking is going to be very good for tight ends, but their lead blocking is going to be terrible. So you have to kind of pick your poison. And in my opinion, of the two, lead blocking is significantly more important than impact blocking, in my opinion. Because I would much rather have my fullback get in position to block someone properly and then hold the block after they've hit than him just doodle around like a dingus and then, block nobody and then I gain 0 yards. So in my opinion, I would heavily prioritize lead blocking and run blocking over impact blocking. Obviously, in a perfect world, all three would be great, but that, again, varies on your prospects. But yeah, these guys are insane. And what also benefits them too compared to actual blockers is that most run blocking or blocking tight ends are aggressively slow. They're like high 60s to low 70s, most of them. These dudes, even their slowest are 80 speed. So what you do is you have a guy who can easily upgrade the blocking to be as good as a blocking tight end, who has great strength, great stiff arm, great trucking off rip, right? Good awareness, good ball carrier vision, good carrying, and they're much faster than the other people. And also, even though they can't really catch too well, you can upgrade their catching. So that's kind of what they're meant to be, right? Do I recommend you sacrificing a lot to go get a fullback? No, I don't. But if you have a north-south blocker, right, and they're just buried on your depth chart, absolutely buried, they will not see the field for 3 to 4 years, and they're impact dev or normal dev, high key slide them to fullback, and they're kind of crazy. Now, again, that's mostly for playing the games. For simulation, fullbacks don't do anything, so keep that as it will. But yeah, I just yapped to you how the stats, the depth charts, again, everything will be in my Discord for specific numbers. So if you would like to have the exact numbers, go join the Discord. Now I'm going to go and show you some good examples of what they can potentially look like. So this is the team I am currently rebuilding live on YouTube, probably at the time of me posting this video. I stream again every single day at around 6 o'clock CST. Stop by. But chat decided we are doing Cincinnati as a team, and the challenge Discord decided is going to be the Nick Saban challenge. So I have 17 years to basically try to outdo Nick Saban's entire legacy. And that's kind of the general gist. I didn't even notice this the first time I did this, right? Had no idea. But someone in my chat said, LOL Beastly, you have a generational north-south blocker. And I'm like, no, I don't. And I go and check, and I'm like, oh, I do. Wow, that is... I wish I would have found this for my YouTube video, which, again, I'm recording now, but I wish I would have found this during the Clemson save file. LOL, whatever, I'll take it. And so here is he is Stephen Feely. He's also 6'1", 222, which this is another thing I probably should have mentioned with the fullback part. If you have an underweight, undersized one of them, you probably shouldn't make them a fullback. But if you have someone like this guy, for example, Stephen Feely, who's 220, who's 6'1", he's perfectly big enough and capable of playing fullback. While we're here, I guess we can go ahead and cover their abilities. Their abilities overall to me are kind of mid. Balanced, being unable to be hit sticked, which is the reason why, I don't know why they call it balanced. It's just tank from Madden, as you can tell from the exact tank logo. So the protection from hit sticks is awesome, and they also have ball security, where it decreases the chance of fumbling on tackle attempts, which I'm presuming is cut sticks and conservative tackle. So no matter how you tackle them, they pretty much can't fumble. Now, I don't know how that works with wear and tear and weather. If you don't know, wear and tear lowers your stats, which makes you more susceptible to being injured and fumbled. And it also, with weather, lowers your carrying stats, so you tend to throw more interceptions and or fumble in the rain. So these abilities, if they ignore the wear and tear and they ignore weather, god tier abilities. If they don't, then they're kind of mid. Sidekick at running back does literally nothing. This is a fullback ability. Same thing with strong grip. Again, this does nothing. This is a fullback ability. Half of their abilities I just named are either running back abilities, or half of them are blocking abilities. And then you got head first. Head first is, in my opinion, a really bad move to have, because in my opinion, the order of operations for the best ball carry move to the worst goes as follows. Stiff arm is the best, followed by juke move, then followed by spin move, then followed by trucking. Now, the thing about it is, spin move being 2 and juke move being 3, you can kind of interchangeably change those, right? I kind of, in my brain, have them both tied for second place, even though I think we all can agree stiff arm is the best. Stiff arm, whether you're playing on All Pro or, All American / Heisman / All Madden, stiff arm is just the best. And trucking is the worst, mostly because even if you successfully truck somebody, you will suffer a massive fatigue penalty and you will suffer a massive speed penalty. So even if you do run through that D end or you do run through that linebacker, more than likely a second or two later, a linebacker or a safety or someone's going to hawk you down. So you just ran through someone and accomplished nothing. It sucks, I know. So they do get this one, but for the grand scheme of things, it's not very good. For fullback dives, it's pretty good, but in the grand scheme, head first is not that good. So 2 abilities don't do anything. 1 ability is mid, and 2 abilities are possibly S tier, assuming they ignore wear and tear and ignore weather. So not bad, but definitely could be better. Now here's the ratings. So again, keep in mind, I have a generational north-south blocker, and here are his stats. So this is like the peak of the peak. I'm about to show you 2 examples of like the best you could possibly get. So just keep that in mind. Viewer discretion is advised, with an absolute warning. This will not happen very often for you unless you get a really good one. So even after all these upgrades, mine caps at 91 speed, 93 excel. That is still, in my opinion, very slow. That is the starting speed and accelerating of an east-west playmaker after full upgrades. Next, we get to the elusiveness. Now, here's what I was like really shocked about. He has low 90s for agility, break tackle, and change of direction. That's nuts. I didn't expect him to even come remotely close to touching the 90s, and the fact that he touched the low 90s is wild to me, and I know that you guys see it, right? I know it's there. But Beastly, he has 74 juke and 78 spin move. That's so bad. It's really not. Because considering the fact that I have 3 skill caps in speed and 3 skill caps in juke move / elusiveness, they could potentially, I'm probably going to find out later tonight on stream when I upgrade the other running back. But if with 3 skill caps remaining, they can touch high 70s for juking and spinning and low 90s for everything else. With no skill caps, I'm pretty sure they cap out at 99 agility, break tackle, and COD. And they also hit the juke move and spin move threshold of 86. Maybe it's just spin move of 86 and jukes of 90. I forget. I'll have to go back to my threshold video. But the point being, I'm pretty sure with no skill caps in elusiveness, they actually do hit the desired thresholds, which is funny that these little bowling balls can actually spin and juke with like no skill caps. Now, obviously, you got to get lucky and have no skill caps, but yeah, if you have no skill caps for speed and quickness or elusiveness, these two can be kind of nuts. Obviously, no skill caps for hands would result in him having maxed out carrying and then 90 catching, which is kind of nuts. And then power, yes, you know I was going to go ahead and max out his power. That was never not on the table. He is maxed out trucking, strength, stiff arm, toughness, and injury, along with very high jumping and pass block power. And not the best run block power, but that's because he's not at fullback. He's at running back here, which is to be expected, but he's incredibly tanky. And I maxed out his IQ, max ball carrier vision, max awareness, and as you can see, he has 94 pass blocking. My running back has better pass blocking than most of my offensive linemen. Like I said, you can upgrade their blocking on these guys incredibly high. Whether at fullback or halfback, their blocking will be high. So just keep that in mind. And then I in my opinion, I could have also maxed out his route running to give him like insane route running. But for the video and for the live stream, I thought the purple badges look cooler. But because I sim all my games, the badges don't do anything. So realistically, the correct choice here would be to dump or to not waste all my points on purple little badges and to dump it into route running and have maxed out stuff here. But this is like the best of the best you're ever going to see, right? This is the super rare generational / elite dev guy. Most of them will not look like this. Just keep that in mind. And just to give you another example of another generational one, ironically enough, I found two of these guys. He's from Ohio. Shout out Akron, Ohio. Appreciate you, bud, for being in fame. He's a 5-star elite dev running back. And here is what I meant. As you can see, this one has no speed caps. So the other one was hard capped at 91 speed with 3 caps remaining. This guy is 98 speed. So it goes to show you just how insane those final 3 skill caps are, where you could basically go from having low 90 speed to maxed out speed. And as you can also see, I'm not going to upgrade it now because I don't want Greg Parks to go pro early. But when I do eventually max out his elusiveness, I'm testing out live on stream what his capabilities are, but I'm pretty sure he's going to cap out at 99 at everything and then mid 80s for juking a spin move, which is just nutty. Hands is also uncapped. Power does have 1 skill cap, but I don't think that'll really matter. Route running has a few skill caps. It won't matter. And IQ has a few skill caps, which again, won't matter. So I have 2 of the best players you can possibly have of this archetype just to show you what their general stats are. And I still wouldn't recommend. So just keep that in mind. The next archetype we're going to cover are going to be the Elusive Bruisers. I would be willing to bet to you guys that most of you answered the comment question of the day as your favorite / the best archetype is the Elusive Bruisers. And I was in the same boat as you guys, to be fair. I genuinely thought as well they were the best overall archetype. Turns out I was wrong. These guys are really good, don't get me wrong. But they do have one thing that does hold them back drastically, which does suck. But if you don't do that one thing, they're actually really good. But that's a bunch of yapping for future me. Current me, let's go ahead and read the average stats for these guys, shall we? For the Elusive Bruiser, on average, they have low to mid 70s for awareness. For speed, they have mid 80s to low 90s. For acceleration, they have high 80s to low 90s. For carrying, they have low to... Oh, actually, I'm wrong. They have low 80s to high 80s for carrying. They have a wide range there. Holy crap. For break tackle, they have between 80 and 82, so the low 80s mark. For COD, it is low 80s to low 90s, very wide range there. For juke move, it's low 70s to high 70s. For spin move, it's high 60s to low 70s. For ball carrier vision, it is low 70s to mid 70s. And then for catching, you have basically low 50s to low 60s. A very wide range for a lot of stuff. Just like our previous archetype was a contact seeker mixed with an offensive lineman, these guys, as an Elusive Bruiser, are a hybrid of what I would consider the 2 best archetypes individually, being contact seekers and east-west playmakers. So you would assume that, well, since they're a hybrid of the east-west playmaker and the contact seeker, they must have the juke moves of Barry Sanders with the physicality of Adrian Peterson after he ate some IHOP pancakes, right? If you know, you know. But they do. But unfortunately, they can't catch. And they also can't run routes. So depending on how you run your offense, they have basically brick for hands, right? If you want to do a Derrick Henry cosplay, you would basically do an Elusive Bruiser. That's what you would kind of do. These guys have the physicality of the contact seeker and the finesse and the moves, the hips, if you will, of an East-West playmaker, which makes them, in terms of strictly running the ball, very good. But again, they can't catch. So in my offense, I throw to my running back a fair bit. I do a lot of Texas routes, wheel routes, table routes, motion routes where I swing them out and do like a curl route. I throw to my running back a ton. And so for me personally, Elusive Bruisers, they're kind of a liability out there. But if you don't throw to your running back, or if you ever only throw like screens and occasionally a check down, these guys are amazing. The other really funny thing I noticed that I found with all of my data points for this group is they have the highest floor of any archetype in this game. It is actually wild. If you were to take like a bust or a normal dev of all of the archetype, all the running back archetypes, I should say, Elusive Bruisers were by far the best. They may not develop and cap out at like a 95 or a 98, right? They may not cap out. But in terms of a normal dev Elusive Bruiser versus a normal dev East-West playmaker or a normal dev, backfield threat, the normal dev Elusive Bruiser is by far the best, right? Because he's a hybrid of the East-West playmaker and contact seeker, he's not as fast as the East-West playmaker, but he's also not as slow as the contact seeker. He's kind of in that middle, right? He doesn't have the trucking as a contact seeker or a north-south blocker, but he has the juke move they don't have, right? He also doesn't have the juke move of an East-West playmaker, but he has the trucking and stiff arm, which they don't have. They're kind of this jack of all, master of none, kind of. They just can't catch. So again, depending on how you do your offense, not catching is either a very vital thing or it's a whatever thing. So these guys were insane. And another really funny thing about them, as you guys can see right here, I will quickly scroll through. But unlike the last couple archetypes I've done, these dudes have an actual good spawn rate. The average class size for these guys goes as follows. I recorded 6, 17, 11, 5, 7, 10, 12, 13, 14, 11. A vast majority of the classes I found with these guys were double digits, which is insane because that means, again, like your low end, your floor is you're going to have consistently a running back, as you guys can see as I just scroll through the people here. You're going to be able to consistently find a lot of running backs like this guy, right? Like Trey Baguette, 90 speed, impact dev, 90 speed normal dev, 90 speed impact dev, 90 speed normal dev, right? Even at their floor, they're still fast. They can still truck. They can still juke. And that's with no upgrades. Now, obviously, you don't want the normal dev. You want the elite dev. You want the star dev. You want the generational. I get it. I'm just saying that if you're in like a very, 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 very hyper competitive online league and you just can't get running backs to save your life, dude, ball out with a normal dev or impact dev Elusive Bruiser with decent base stats. You will be shocked because you can actually get dev trait bumps in this game from your performance. So I can assure you it's worth it. Just saying from my experience, obviously, if you have the resources, the pipelines, and the perks to go get the good guys, go get the good guys. But don't be sleeping on no normal dev or impact dev Elusive Bruisers. Those guys can put up stats with the rest of them, I promise you. Now, over the long haul of like 3 or 4 years, they're going to eventually not be able to maintain pace. But for that, like 1 or 2 years, you could use the hell out of them. You can chew through their career wear and tear, just absolute use them to oblivion, and then just ditch them because they're so replaceable. And while we're here, I might as well cover the general stats you want to be looking for. From my opinion, these guys are in the contact seeker boat / the north-south blocker boat, where there is a lot of stats, there's a lot of data that you unfortunately have to see that you don't get in the scouting report. That does kind of make them hard. Like, for example, this gentleman, how is he elite dev, Beastly? He has, he's 87 speed, whereas this guy has 90 speed and he's a star dev player. This guy also has, 88 speed. He's a star dev player. Why are these star dev players faster than these two elite dev players? Well, as much as speed does matter, and trust me, speed matters a ton. Unfortunately with these guys, because they're a combination of a contact seeker and East-West playmaker, both of those stats need to be good. So more than likely, if I were to go and check the depth chart of all 4 of these running backs, I would presume these 2 running backs have slightly more stiff arm, slightly more strength, slightly more trucking than these guys do. As you can see, these guys kind of inherited more of the East-West playmaker, being 90 speed, 75 juke, 88 speed, 77 juke, 85, 83 change of direction, right? These guys inherited more of that east-west playmaker. These guys inherited more of the trucking. And even though you would think it's a 50-50 split, it's really not. You want, for these guys, specifically high trucking, high strength, high stiff arm, and everything else. So these guys, whether you're talking their floor or you're talking their ceiling, they are very, very, very good. They have a very high spawn rate. Even here, this guy I would consider a random spawn, right? For, dev trait. If I were to go and look at his stats, I would be willing to bet he has insanely high trucking, stiff arm, strength, and stuff of that nature. He has a very high juke move as well. So it's one of those things where these guys, kind of regardless of what their dev traits are, you can do well with them. Again, they can't catch, they can't run routes, but if that's the only thing they can't do, you are going to have a really, really good prospect. Now it's time to review the depth chart stats, because these stats do matter, and unfortunately, I wish, again, as always, the game gave you these. Their agility stat is mid to high 80s, right? You could have somebody with 84, 85 agility, and you could find someone with like 88 or 89 agility, like these two guys did, which is insane, right? Like, the fact, again, they have it all over the board. Their strength is basically mid to high 70s of the strength, which is not bad whatsoever at all. And then their trucking and stiff arm, as you can see right here, this guy's trucking is 80. The guy below him, who's also star dev, is 80. And as you can see, the three guys below these guys, who are all impact and normal dev, they have 79. So just like how you're looking for 80 plus juke move and high carrying for east-west playmakers, and you're looking for those high strength and the high trucking stats for the north-south blockers, you're looking for high catching. Like, all of them do generally have a tell. And like I mentioned earlier, and I could probably be willing to bet if I were to go check those depth charts, I could go find it. But they have high strength and high stiff arm, which is the reason why they're star dev and these guys are not star dev. I know it's one overall. Trust me, that difference between 79 and 80 for these thresholds matters a ton. Trucking is high 70s to low 80s, and stiff arm is mid 70s to low 80s. Stiff arm also ranges a ton. And what else? Again, they can kind of spin, right? Kind of. They can kind of juke, kind of with upgrades. They can totally do it. They will never catch. Don't ever throw them the ball. They can't really run routes. They're kind of average at blocking, right? Obviously, if you want, a good blocker, you would go get you a north-south blocker, but so you guys are going to get a very quick 2-for-1. I just realized in the other one, I didn't show you what a actual good north-south blocker looks like without upgrades. So I do apologize. I'm going to throw that here really quickly. I'm not going to spend too much time. This is the Elusive Bruiser section, but here you go. Here's one that I had, Theo Davey, who's a star dev 4-star. Here are his stats. You can see how it kind of links up. Again, mid-speed, check. Juking, bad. Spinning, bad. Decent agility, decent break tackle, decent COD. The power, the stiff arm being around 80. The strength being 86, which is absurdly high. The trucking being 86, which is absurdly high. Just so much trucking. And yeah, stuff of that nature. Here's what one would look like off the scouting report and on your team. Now, here is what one would look like as a generational / elite dev. I forget exactly. It's been a couple years since I've done the Penn State one, or a couple in-game years, but in real life, it's been like a month. But this guy is either a 5-star generational or a 5-star elite dev as an example. And as you will see, this dude, it just kind of makes sense, right? That he's a generational prospect. Upper percentile speed, acceleration, upper percentile juke move. 80 plus is kind of crazy for these guys. Upper percentile COD and just stuff of that nature. And don't worry, right? There's more. Dude hits 80 strength W, 84 trucking, upper percentile for trucking. He's barely missing the stiff arm by 1. I would like that to be at least 80. But I'm not going to, it's the one stat he failed to get, which is 1 point. It's like big whoop. So yeah, this is what I think he's probably generational. Now, again, I know he's a sophomore. I know Beasley, he's not a freshman. I know, but as you guys will see, right, I have just a ton of good running backs on this team with hundreds of tokens. So I don't, with my offense, my playbook, I only use one running back a year. So there's really no need for me to max out all these guys. Plus, just random dev trait flex. Why not? Elite dev, star dev, elite dev, impact dev. I like that the impact dev's the worst one I got, but to be fair, he kind of had to be the start of this year. Anyways, go back to the live stream if you want to know the context for that reason. But yeah, no, that's what a really good one looks like when they're off the scouting report on your team. Generally speaking, obviously not always, but if you look for the upper percentile stats, again, speed, elusiveness, power, stuff of that nature, you will find them. So whether you have a normal Dev 1 who's just kind of a guy or a generational stud, they're pretty good. Again, they can't catch, which is their Achilles heel. They don't run routes. They can't catch without upgrades, of course. But the other thing that I feel like I have to address here, and even though they are phenomenal running backs, they are also the most labor intensive to make. And what I mean by that is we'll just take Terrence Whipple right here. To upgrade 1 elusiveness, which he needs, costs 5 tokens. To upgrade power 1 tier costs 12 tokens. So to upgrade 1 total tier for both of his 2 most important stats costs 17 tokens. In my opinion, this is the reason why EA Sports gave them a really high floor, but made their ceiling almost impossible to achieve. I don't know if it's physically possible with a normal dev or impact dev person, assuming obviously not having skill caps, because skill caps kind of ruin everything, but assuming they don't have skill caps, which can happen, not often, but it can happen. I don't think it's physically possible with normal dev or impact dev to max out power and elusiveness. I don't even know if it's possible to max out elusiveness and power even with star dev, because power, right now it's 12 points. Eventually this is going to ramp up to be like 15, 16 points. And then elusiveness right now is 5 points. This will eventually ramp up to like 7 or 8. So you might legitimately need like 500 or 600 tokens to max these guys out. So even though their potential is insane, and their floor is also really good, they just cost a lot. So kind of like, if I had to pick a downside of them, they're expensive. But like, I'm glad they're expensive because they're really good. It's like you don't want a Lamborghini to be $12,000. Otherwise, every Joe Schmo would have a Lamborghini, right? You want the thing to be good to also be semi-rare, but that's neither here nor there. While we're on the screen, let's go ahead and yap about the abilities. Shifty, one of the best abilities in the game. Ask my online opponent, which you guys will probably be seeing that video next week. I had a bronze or silver Shifty, and my guy ran for like 200-something yards. Shifty is a disgustingly good ability. Obviously, Platinum is the best, but Shifty is very good. They get Shifty. Next, they get Armbar. Again, Stiff Arm is the best ball carry move in this game. So, of course, the ability that makes you have a better animation for the best thing is even better. So, double W right there. Then they have Downhill. One of the most disgustingly overlooked abilities in the game. Downhill, whether it's on a QB, a running back, receiver, tight end, doesn't matter. Whoever has downhill is insane. Basically, if you try to conserve to tackle somebody with downhill and they're running full speed, especially with platinum or gold downhill, they will just break tackles like you wouldn't believe, right? If you ever played Ultimate Team, it kind of reminded me of a couple years ago of Eric Dickerson. Eric Dickerson had this card in Madden where I think it was like the top 100 promo, where the dude would just break every tackle. It's not like that crazy, but I have noticed if you do have platinum downhill with 98 break tackle or 99 break tackle, they just don't get tackled. Obviously, you can still cut stick them, which will ignore break tackle and ignore the ability. And then don't even try to hit stick them. That's also going to be really bad. But considering it makes conservative tackling and hit sticking very hard, this ability is very good. So you got 3 S tier abilities on this guy. And then you also got sidestep. So like, just in case you don't want to stiff arm someone and you want to make a cute little TikTok, little highlight reel, you could just juke them out of their fucking ankles. And lastly, you got head first. So if you're on that goal line and you just got to get it and you got to outman them, just run through a motherfucker. Just run through them and you can. So these guys, honestly, if it was my opinion, I would change head first and sidestep to something else. But considering Shifty, Downhill, and Armbar are also on them, absolute god tier abilities. And so that is the ending of the Elusive Bruisers. Now, this is probably the most controversial part of the video. Next, I'm going to show you the actual best archetype in the game, and trust me, it did shock me. So, if you put in the comments an hour and a half ago that the best archetype was the north-south receiver, ding, 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 you have a winner. Now, obviously, subjectively, whatever you like is whatever you like. That's obviously subjective. If you're a contact seeker guy, obviously you're going to like contact seekers. So, subjectively, that was kind of eh. But in terms of numerical data, these guys, the north-south receiver, is basically a homogenized amalgamation of everything. And here's why. If you guys remember from part 1 of the series, I told you that even though they are inherently different, east-west playmakers and backfield threats do have a lot of similarities. So to kind of like mentally describe this as like a graph, imagine an east-west playmaker and backfield threat are cousins, right? They're related. They're in the same family tree. They're not directly siblings, but they are within relation, right? Now, imagine a contact seeker and a north-south blocker, right? Those two basically things are of relation as well as cousins, right? So with the north-south receiver, and I'm not trolling, I'm about to show you this momentarily. These guys are basically 25% north-south blocker, 25% contact seeker, 25% backfield threat, and 25% east-west playmaker. That was a mouthful. They're basically the love child of every archetype in this game. They can literally do everything. We were talking a bit earlier about floors and ceilings. A generational north-south receiver is the most dangerous running back in this game. Because, unlike an Elusive Bruiser, they can't catch. These guys can, right? If you have a generational contact seeker or north-south blocker, they can't catch. These guys can. If you have a generational backfield threat, that's cute. They can't truck. These guys can. They can't stiff arm either. These guys can, right? If you have a generational east-west playmaker, that's cute. Again, east-west playmakers can't stiff arm, truck. They can. These dudes can do everything. And what's disgusting is, from what I have seen, I'm pretty sure they always spawn with safety valve. There is not a single running back on this list of any running back I have seen that doesn't have at least bronze, if not gold or silver safety valve. And if you don't know what that ability does, I'll cover it when we get to the other segment of this video, but safety valve is a nuts ability, and they get it off rip. Zero work. As long as they're a 4 or 5 star, they get bronze minimum safety valve. So you get a guaranteed ability, which, again, no one else can say that, right? I guess you can argue north-south blockers get guaranteed sidekick, but it's wow, you get sidekick. Woo, awesome. Right? If you go to an Elusive Bruiser, right? I know he's normal dev. He's not very good. He's impact dev. He's not, star dev. Here's a good example. Here's a star dev Elusive Bruiser with no mentals and no abilities. He has nothing, right? You're not guaranteed anything on an Elusive Bruiser. Here's another star dev guy who has nothing. Here's a normal, they have nothing. Literally, they have nothing. You are not guaranteed squat on any of these Elusive Bruisers, but you are guaranteed safety valve on these running backs. So it's let me get this straight, EA. They can juke, spin, truck, stiff arm. They're athletic. They can catch, run every route in the route tree, and oh, by the way, they get free abilities for just existing. That is, what are we doing? And the other funny thing, and you guys might have seen it if you have very keen eyes, one of the other downsides to the backfield threats and, those, more scat / catching backs, they're very small, right? Typically, they're about 5'8" to 5'10" and around 180 to 190 pounds. They're very small because, again, they're meant to be scat backs. They're meant to be guys who, catch stuff like that. These dudes, because they are a basic god spawn of everything, their height and their weight is all over the place. You can find these dudes as tall as 6'2", 6'3", and you could find them also as short as 5'8", 5'10", right? You can find 5'9". Here's a midget, right? Hashtag all my short kings out there. But you can find them all over the spectrum in terms of height, right? All over the spectrum in terms of height and weight, right? Here's a guy who's 184. Here's a guy who's 209, right? Because here's a guy who's 194. Here's a guy who's 206. Because they're just this homogenization of basically every other archetype in the game, they kind of have the most wild height and weight spawns, which, considering the fact they can already catch and run routes and run through you and run around you, the fact that they won't also have the automatic, well, at least they're small, therefore they will fumble more. Nope, they're not always small. They can be small, right? As you guys can see here, there's, again, 5 foot, 10, 8, 9 guys, but they're also 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". They are tall, right? So literally, subjectively, obviously, whatever you like is whatever you like, but objectively, there is nothing more overpowered in this game than a 5-star generational north-south receiver. There's not. These guys are, all the glazing aside, just disgusting. The fact they get every tool in the toolbox, and you got north-south blockers out here just begging to reach 90 speed, and these guys are like, LOL 90 speed. Because, like, again, don't get me wrong, because they are a hybridization of so many other things. You can have slow ones, right? Like, this guy is very slow, 84 speed. This guy is also slow, 84 speed, but he's a bust, so just ignore that. 85 speed slow. But if you noticed, yeah, there's a couple slow ones, but 87 speed, 87 speed, 87 speed, 87 speed. If you can see where this is going, 87 speed, right? Yeah, they're not as slow as north-south blockers and or backfield threats and or contact seekers in terms of base stats. They're also, or I mean, they're faster than all of them, but they're just a tick slower to east-west playmakers. They're just a smidge slower. So it's like, okay, you're a little behind, but then you upgrade the speed 1 or 2 times and they're on the same playing field. These guys are insane. After getting all that glazing done, let's go ahead and read you the data real quick. On average, they possess mid 60s to low 70s awareness. They have on average low 80s to high 80s for speed. They have high 80s to low 90s for acceleration. They have high 70s to low 80s for carrying. They have high 70s also to low 80s for break tackle. For COD, they have low 80s all the way to high 80s, which big range there. Juke move, high 70s to low, or actually high 70s to high 70s. Spin move, low 70s to mid 70s. Ball carrier vision is low 70s to mid 70s. Catching is also mid 70s to mid 70s. But hey, Beastly, that's just the scouting report. What do they have off the scouting report? I'm glad you asked. So we got a lot of stuff to cover on this depth chart. Let's go ahead and hop right into this. For starters, their agility. Their agility can range from low 80s to high 80s. This guy's 89 agility, which is insane. For strength, you would think they would be weak, but nope, they got grandparents who were pretty strong back in their day with them contact seekers and north-south blockers. Their strength can range from low 70s to high 70s, practically 80s, which is insane. That they're just, again, they're just the love child of everything in this game, which is just fucking wild. But hey, Beastly, that's they can't truck and stiff arm, right? Right? Nope, you're wrong. Their trucking ranges from mid 70s to low 80s. That's right, you heard me correctly, low 80s. The best I ever saw with my own eyes and I recorded was 85 trucking. Again, the north-south blockers, their entire shtick, they have absurdly high trucking at 88, or the highest I found there was 88. The highest I ever found for these guys was 85. They were a couple ticks away from matching the best north-south blocker I've ever seen. Wild. Stiff arm. Oh, don't you worry. Stiff arm's not much better. They range from, again, mid 70s to low 80s. This is just unfair, EA. This is literally unfair. What are you doing? Again, they have spin move, juke move. It's just disgusting. And they can catch because they're also a receiver. So they have great catching traffic, and spec catch. The catch and traffic ranges are basically low to mid 70s. Their spec catch is high 60s to low 70s. Even their route running's unfair, dude. They have 76 short route running. Like, that also ranges, by the way, from low to mid 70s. And then they also have great medium route running as well, ranging from low to mid 60s as well. Now, for deep route running, I can't check that because this game's retarded, but if I could, I would measure that. I would be willing to bet it's probably similar to the backfield threat, which is like mid 50s. So that's cool. And yeah, they can catch, they can run routes. There are some tight ends and receivers in this game that are 4 and 5 stars that don't have this high of short and or medium route running, which is insane. And like their release, so in case you want to like throw one out wide and, throw them the ball and they try to like play press man, off rip, they have this guy's 72 release, and the release ranges from basically low 60s to mid 70s. There are, again, some receivers that have lower release than this dude. He's a freaking running back. But, again, because he inherited Pappy, Grandpa, whatever you want to call it, Granddad's blocking stats, being a partial north-south blocker, this dude can also block. Like, compare his blocking stats to the 3 other east-west playmaker on Boston College's team. And again, this dude is a senior, this guy's a redshirt senior, and this guy is a redshirt senior as well. And his freshman has the best blocking stats on the backfield. This is just unfair, EA. Like, literally, this should be a crime. Their pass blocking ranges from low 50s to mid 60s. Their pass block power ranges from low or high 50s to low 6 or mid 60s. The pass block finesse ranges from low 60s to mid 60s. Their run block ranges from high 40s to high 50s. Their run block power ranges from mid 40s to low 50s. Their run block finesse ranges from low 40s to high 40s. And then lastly, their lead block / impact block ranges from low 40s to low 50s. There is not a single thing these guys can't do. I guess you could argue their stamina sucks because they can do everything, but like stamina is not that hard to upgrade. It's fairly cheap. It really is. So it's just, I mean, this guy even has 92 injury, dog. Like, he inherited the Contact Seeker, North-South Blocker, just, like, never get prone, the Elusive Bruiser, never get injury. Like, these dudes just have everything. Like, if they had, like, a 75 injury rating, I would still say, like, okay, that's fair, they're really good, but they get injured a lot. They don't even get injured a lot. Like, it's just, the moment you fix stamina, they never leave your field. Like, they are just, God, it's so unfair how good they are. Like, it really is. Here is George Leva can't ever give me a normal name, EA. Appreciate it. He was a 5-star generational talent, might I add. A 5-star generational north-south receiver. And here are his stats. Again, 87 speed seems to be that average stat where it's like, that's pretty good for them. I would like to see that a bit higher personally, but 87 seems to be the impact / star / elite kind of bar. So he has the speed, he has the agility, the break tackle, the cod, the juke move, the spin move. He has the carrying, the catching, the spec catch. He has the power. Obviously, you guys can see 81 stiff arm, 82 trucking. He's 2 less strength than what you would like, but boo-hoo, you're cherry picking. He has literally every stat you would want except for 2 strength. Whoop-de-doo. Amazing short and medium route running. And oh yeah, by the way, because they're also partially a blocker by, again, this is like the grandchild of just everything. When you upgrade the IQ, you upgrade pass blocking, right? For almost every other running back, if you upgrade IQ, it's just ball carrier vision and it's just awareness. But no, he can have like 95 or 98 pass blocking. He could have high 90s route running, right? He could have, 90 plus trucking, stiff arm, strength, everything. He could have 99 carrying, or spec catch, catching. He could have 99 juke, spin, everything else. And oh, by the way, he's also going to have probably 95 to 96 speed. Just disgusting. Disgusting. And what's nuts is you think, well, they have amazing stats. Well, they have everything, you'd possibly want. Their abilities have to suck, right? Basically, their abilities have to be terrible. Nope. Because they're the offspawn, the demon hybridization of just every other archetype, he inherits the balance, which makes him immune to hit sticks, which is like, wow, that's terrifying. Okay, they can't be hit sticks. He inherits the armbar from the Bruisers and the Contact Seeker, so it's like, LOL, try and get near me, corner / safety. I am just going to Derrick Henry you into the dirt. Just be gone, child. Oh, he's also a receiver. And he has Safety Valve, which I've already told you is a guaranteed ability. Guaranteed. I have yet to see one that doesn't have a Safety Valve that's a 4 or 5-star. Just guaranteed. Maybe it can't happen. I don't know. But guaranteed Safety Valve. Now, the range does vary between bronze and gold, but Safety Valve. And again, I could be wrong. To my knowledge, Safety Valve is still busted. It's still glitched. Where basically, if you throw to your running back, regardless of where they're at on the field, at Platinum Safety Valve, they will always catch the ball. Now, I don't think this triggers for double or triple coverage, but if they're in single coverage with a safety, a corner, a linebacker, whomever, and they have Safety Valve, I'm pretty sure as long as they're in your backfield when you put them on a route, they will catch it. So a Texas route, a wheel route, whatever. This ability, I could be wrong, it could have been nerfed already, but last time I checked, this ability's not been fixed. It's like sure hands for tight ends and receivers, but this is their version of it for a running back. It's just such a disgusting ability that just given everything else they already have is like why they don't need this EA. But then, you think things are great. They can't be hit sticked. They have the best ball carrier move being armbar. They can catch pretty much everything. What more do they need? For shits and giggles, they also gave them downhill. So it's like, you're running full speed. So it's like, you can take your pick. Do you want to get stiff armed into oblivion and be put on a highlight reel? Or do you want to go for a tackle and then just shrug it off and then run for a touchdown? It's the worst ability they have is also head first, which is funny because that allows them to basically be a great fullback and or running back as well. So whether you're running halfback dive, inside zone, stretch, toss, counter, whether you're doing a screen, whether you're doing motion, whatever you're doing, these guys have the stats, they have the abilities, and with the proper ratings, they are insane. Now, here's the thing though. I said one of the downsides for the Elusive Bruiser was how expensive it was to upgrade them. These guys are in the exact same problem, right? It's not cheap to upgrade power. Power is expensive. It's not, for now, it's cheap being 5 upgrade points. You could easily max out in a year or two elusiveness, hands, and IQ, right? That can easily max out. But if you truly do want to max out everything, it's going to be fairly expensive. But again, if you have the right dev tray, you have the right build, you have the right situation spawn, you can have a running back that can do everything. And if you want to even like super hyper min-max, if you want to go full degen mode and you're in like an online dynasty with your friends and you just want to be that guy, you could have 3 of these guys on your team, 3 north-south receivers, but only upgrade the things you want them to do. So for example, if you want one of your north-south receivers to be your third down back, just upgrade the route running, just upgrade the IQ, and upgrade the hands. They already have decent speed, decent elusiveness, and decent power off rip. Then have another north-south blocker where you only upgrade quickness, elusiveness, hands, and IQ, and they're going to be an insane east-west playmaker who can also truck somebody. But say you want one that's a third down back for like, again, those gotta-have-it moments, max out speed, max out hands, max out power, max out IQ, and there you go. You have the best trucking back. Literally, these guys are like glue. They're like duct tape in the apocalypse. You can just slap them on anything, in any situation, and they work. Hell, if you upgrade their quickness high enough, you could also have them as a kick returner. And because they have really good catching, they won't muff the punt or the kick. And because they basically are a glorified east-west playmaker, north-south blocker, monster, they're a freaking Frankenstein, you can just run through kickoffs and kick returns like no one's business because you have a bunch of 4th and 5th stringers trying to tackle somebody with balanced and armbar and breakdown. Like, it's just, these guys can do everything, and it actually annoys me that I didn't know prior to doing this video how unbelievably good they are. Just disgusting. Just disgusting. I also just realized I forgot to cover the average spawn rate for these guys. And you would assume, oh, Beastly, they have to be rare, right? They have to be super duper 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 rare given the sheer overpoweredness they are. Nope, they're not. The average spawn rate I recorded over a 10-year sample size was 10, 11, 12, 9, 7, 8, 6, 6, 12, and 15. Half of the 10-year sample size, there were 10 or more of them in a class. In only 2 of the years, there was 3, in 3 of the years, there were 6 or less. So they're not rare. They're a lot that spawn. They're good at everything. It's just, oh my, EA, oh my. Now we are going to cover the final group, the athlete, east-west playmaker, the athlete backfield threat, and the athlete contact seeker. Very TLDR, if you just want to skip this entire segment of the video, I don't blame you. Don't recruit them. I've been trying to record data for these guys, and they're not worth it. They're really not. Like, this gentleman, Donnie Cleveland, right? He has insane speed. He has insane acceleration. He's like amazing. Gets gold shifty for free. Yeah, but here's the thing. A vast majority of these east-west playmakers, and it's not even just the athlete east-west playmakers, it's all athletes in this game. A vast majority of them are like this guy, normal dev or impact dev, or, this guy's impact, this guy is star dev, this guy's impact, and this guy's impact. Like, most of these athletes are just normal or impact dev. We have 2 non-normal or impact dev guys in this class. 2 of them. And what's funny is, example, this guy with 91 speed, he has the same stats as just a normal East-West playmaker. So why even go after this guy when you could just go get an East-West playmaker who's a lot easier to tell? So it's just the issue they have, and this is across the board for halfback athletes, is that the ratio, their hit rate is so small. And I'll also cover another issue they have that is exclusive to them. But, you know, considering that the north-south receiver exists, considering the elusive bruiser exists, considering how regular east-west playmakers who are far easier to predict exist, there's just no universe where you should be fiending over these guys, right? There are so many better archetypes that have a much higher success rate that gambling it all for an athlete in 2025 is not worth it. In CFB 25, sure. But in CFB 26, they nerfed the athletes into the ground across the board for everybody. And so, yeah, you can find people like Donnie Cleveland, sure. But, like, who gives a shit if you have 94 speed as your base stats? If you go get a regular East-West playmaker, you can get 94 speed and 2 upgrades, right? Also, who cares if you have 94 speed or above average athleticism, as this guy does, Donnie Cleveland has, when you can just go get a north-south receiver who has similar stats, about the same juking, about the same spinning, and unlike this guy, a north-south receiver can also truck and stiff arm. These dudes can't. So it's just, the risk is so high, their spawn rates are so low, it's just, I don't recommend, especially for running backs. And another thing I'm going to address now, I was going to wait till later in the video, but I'm just going to go ahead and address it now. The other problem I have with athlete running backs is most of them aren't meant to play running back, which sounds weird, I know. But from my testing, a lot of them do position swap to different positions better. So, like, for example, Cortland Avils here that I have on my team. He's a 74 or 75 overall running back, which I already know from doing this. And when I position swap him, I can keep him as a running back, but he's like a 70 overall corner. So it's like, he's not that much worse at playing corner than running back. And I can assure you from doing this over and over and over and over and over again, he's not just an outlier. There's a lot of players who either have equal position swaps on defense or they're better on defense. I have noticed from just my testing that the East-West playmaker athlete running back typically on average either make, if they're not good at running back, they're really good corners and safeties. But I've also noticed that the athlete contact seekers, which I don't have any here because we'll get to that in a moment, they also make really good linebackers. So it's almost like EA just didn't give them good running back stats. So it's like, why would you keep them at running back? It's really annoying. It's really obnoxious, in my opinion. It's just, it's stupid. So you have a very low spawn rate with a very low hit rate with, oh, by the way, the person you're going after may not even play running back. Like, again, could you, like, this guy is, you know, Donnie Cleveland, obviously he's a running back, right? There's no debating. He's meant to play running back. He's a running back, right? But could you imagine dumping all of your resources into Ricky Connors over here, and you're like, yeah, that's my running back. And then you go to, make him a running back, and he's a higher overall safety. Like, you know how deflating that is? That, like, the person you just fought so hard for is actually better on defense than offense. It's so sad. So I figured, why not go ahead and yap and, talk about something when I can just show you. So we have a 75 overall Ricky Connors, the same guy we just spoke about. As you can see, if I moved him to running back, he's a 75 overall. But if I move him to corner, he's only he's a 5 overall drop, right? The gap between him actually playing running back and corner is not that big. And considering he's 5'11", 200, he's not even that small to play corner / safety. He's not, right? Like, the gap between these two is not very big. But just to keep the same example, again, no edits, no cuts, no funny business. Here's a normal dev, 72 overall East-West playmaker, who's another one that Oregon got. He's a 72 running back, right? A 72 running back, but lo and behold, if you move him to a tight end, he's an 80. It's crazy that he's actually meant to play tight end, not running back. Now, for him, I don't know what his base stats were and yada, 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 but you get the point. Most of these athlete running backs are not actually meant to play running back. They're meant to play other offensive or defensive positions, which sucks Because if you were really banking on them being a really good running back and you end up finding out, even fullback, this dude's a better fullback than running back. Right? He's a better fullback and tight end than actual running back. And what's even funny too is compared to him being a running back, he's a slightly worse receiver. Right? He's very little. And because he's an athlete, you're not going to get a punishment for moving him wherever you want initially. So you can take him and move him wherever you want. Now, he is not very good for defense. As you can see, he's in the 40s for defensive stuff. But again, this is what it should look like, right? You shouldn't be moving a 75 overall running back to corner and him only losing a couple overall, right? When you move a running back to safety, you should be losing 30 or 40 overall like this guy is, right? This guy's a good example of like, he's meant to be on offense, as you can see from the higher overall players. But the same can't be said for this other dude, where clearly you can move him to corner and have almost no downside. Right? Depending on where his, skill caps go, he might have no caps in man or zone. He already has the speed and the catching stats. He already has the height and weight. Like, it's just, it's stupid. Even as a safety, right? He's just one overall less compared to a corner to the 69. It's nuts. And I've noticed the same thing with contact seekers. Athlete contact seekers typically make really good linebackers. It's like they have 82, 83 speed, but like 90 hit power. It's like, why? It's overall, again, like I've mentioned, the spawn rate's not very good. The dev trait on the low spawn rate's even worse. And most of them don't fit the running back that you're supposed to be getting. So it's just, if you want an east-west playmaker, just go get you an east-west playmaker. If you want a whatever, if you want a backfield threat, go get you a backfield threat. The low, like 2% chance that you find an athlete who's really good, who has above average stats, and also plays that role is so small. It's just not worth it, guys. It's really not. Considering this video recording's already been pushing 3 hours, I don't know how much you guys are going to actually see for yourselves, but a 3-hour file. We're going to speed run this and try to wrap this up because my voice is going because there is so much data. And I hope you guys really enjoy it because this video took many hours to record. So I appreciate y'all. So very quickly, the average stats for the East-West Playmaker athletes goes as follows. Low to mid 60s for awareness, high 80s to low 90s for speed, low to mid 90s for acceleration, mid 70s to high 70s for carrying, low 70s to high 70s for break tackle, mid 80s to low 90s for COD, low to mid 80s for juke, high 60s to low 70s for spin, mid 60s to mid 70s for ball carrier vision, and mid 70s to high 70s for catching. And I guess the one other benefit is at least their spawn rate's pretty high. Their spawn rate is 9, 4, 3, 4, 11, 6, 4, 12, 5, 12. So there's a couple years you got 2 or 3 that spawned, or not really 2 or 3, it was 4 or 5, but a couple years where 4 or 5 spawned, a couple years where 12 spawned. They do spawn a lot, but again, just go get a regular East-West playmaker, man. If you want a running back, just go get a running back. These guys are just not, they're not it. And very quickly, we'll cover backfield threats in the same section because backfield threats are unironically the rarest archetype in the game. I am not trolling you. Their average spawn rate over a 10-year sample size was 1-0-1-0-2-1-0-1-2-1. So for over half of the classes in a 10-year sample size, either 1 or 0 spawned. Obviously, I didn't have enough data to really compile a correct number because when you have like 12 total spawn in like 10 years, that's not enough. But just the data I collected from what I could, their awareness ranges from low 60s to low 70s. Their speed ranges from low 80s to high 80s. Their acceleration ranges from high 80s to low 90s. Their carrying ranges from low 60s to mid 70s. Their break tackle ranges from low 70s to mid 70s. Their COD ranges from mid 80s to high 80s. Their juke move ranges from low 80s to mid 80s. Their spin move is high 70s to low 80s. Their ball carrier vision is low 70s to mid 70s. And their catching is high 70s to low 80s. That is them. And yeah, I found one in this class. And just to show you I'm not lying, I will do it live, right? We will filter by 4 and 5 star. We will filter by running back. We will filter by backfield threats. And as you will see, I am not lying. there was a singular one that spawned. And I would like to tell you this was some sort of outlier, but it's not. It's pretty much the usual. They just don't spawn. And also, I would like to show you what an athlete contact seeker looks like. I really would, but I can't. Because, as you could probably guess, there was 2 of them that spawned in this entire class. And of course, that we had deal breakers that stopped them from going here. So, I'm going to read you off their stats, but just know that the athlete contact seekers are a little better than the backfield threats, but they're significantly worse than the East-West playmakers. Their average stats include high 60s to low 70s for awareness. Their speed is low to mid 80s. Their acceleration is mid 80s to high 80s. Their carrying is low 80s to mid 80s. Their break tackle is high 70s to low 80s. Their COD is mid 70s to low 80s. Their juke move is high or mid 50s to high 60s. Their spin move is the same thing, high mid 50s to high 60s. Break tackle or ball carrier vision, is mid 70s to low 70s. I said that backwards, sorry. And then catching is high 50s to low 70s. They're all over the board, which makes sense because there are athletes, and their average spawn size or class spawn size per class was 244340123. So on average, you were getting more than the backfield threats, being 3 and 4 that would spawn. But again, 3 and 4 a year is disgusting. It's very bad. And like you can see, I kind of can't really show you. I guess I could actually show you. Give me one moment. Again, rather than me just yapping about it, I can go ahead and put it in the video. So imagine the sheer bliss you would be experiencing. Beastly, I had the odds, I had the numbers roll in my favor, Beastly. I found the one contact seeker that spawned in my class, and I got him, I met the criteria, and he had a dev trait. Oh my god, we're so lucky, he's a star dev. Cedric Spears, imagine we're like cosplaying as a Boise head coach here. You go to move him to running back. And look at this bullshit. His top positions are defensive end, D-tackle, linebacker, and then running back. He has 5 other positions above him before you get to running back. This is what I mean by, like, if you just want a contact seeker, go get a contact seeker. If you're having issues with DNs, like, right, you can't get DNs, don't get a contact seeker and move them to DN. I mean, this guy is not like super small. He's 6'3", 230. I would like that to be at least like 240, 250, but at least he's not like super duper small. But if you need a DN, guys, go get a flipping DN. If you need a nose tackle or a D tackle, go get you a D tackle / nose tackle. If you need linebackers, go get linebackers, guys. Like, this is just... Again, I could just tell you something, but it's better if I show you it. That way, you know, you have more faith that I'm not lying through my teeth like so many other content creators do. Contact seekers, on average, are better defensive players than offensive players. I've noticed East-West playmakers, when they're not running backs, are typically corners or safeties. I mean, he could also play corner and safety, but they're like 86 speed, so like I don't really think anybody wants an 86 speed corner / safety out there. But it's just don't do it, man. If you get one that does spawn and they're generational, cool, go after it. But just know there's a very strong likelihood that that running back you're fighting for is not actually a running back. And it's going to be such a kick in the nuts to fight all that time for a player to just realize he wasn't worth your time. It's a big pain in the ass. So after a 1 hour and 7-ish minute video, and this video, which will probably, after editing, be chopped down to probably an hour and a half to hour 45 minutes, if I'm lucky. I think after spending about 3.5 hours yapping about running backs, and after spending probably close to 35 hours of my life just staring at Clemson Orange and or hearing those drums and just jotting down numbers, I think I can safely say I am done with running backs. I've covered all 8 billion archetypes, all the stats, everything you need, their abilities, what they look like when they're on your team, that when they're good, what do they look like in the scouting report, even their depth chart stats, and yada, yada, yada. So, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, respond or like the comment down below my pinned comment of what position group I'm doing next. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope to God the next group I do on defense has nowhere near the archetypes, because if I get a archetype like the safeties, for example, that only have 3, that'll take me probably 2 days to record. Like, legitimately, it shouldn't take me a week to compile just thousands of recruits and data points and yada, yada, yada. So just please like the video, comment, share, subscribe. I appreciate y'all joining the Discord. And yeah, guys, let's go ahead and get that outro going. As always, I hope you have a wonderful morning, evening, night, afternoon, or day, depending on whatever time you watch my content in the future. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, give me a follow or sub on Twitch. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you can, please become a member. Members get early access to all my content, like the videos you're watching now, whether it's a day early, several hours early, or even a week or so early. You get early access to all my content. You get perks in the Discord. You get perks on the channel, VIP streams, and much, much more. Prioritized viewer request videos, and so much more. So if you can, please become a member. I would greatly appreciate that. It would help the channel a ton. And shout out to all my goats over here who are members. I appreciate y'all. You guys mean the absolute world to me. And yeah, guys, I will see ya when I see ya. Deuces.